Alright guys, welcome back to another video. So in the first part of this build series, we started by making our runners for our sled, and we did that using a hardboard template. So it was a fun experiment trying to make that template, and we came out with two identical runners. In between the videos here, I've gone through and sanded up the faces of these to 220 grit. That way today, when we add in our cross-section pieces, we don't have to worry about removing any more material from these runners. So now what we need to work on is all of our pieces that are going to go across this thing. So this sled has three cross pieces. We have one going from the very front, one kind of going from the middle front, and then one coming from the back. And these are going to go all the way across. Okay, so there is the base of our sled mostly together. Three of the joints are really good, really tight, which is going to help out later on once we actually go to glue everything up. This one joint here is a little bit on the looser side. It does kind of come apart, whereas the other three kind of have to be pushed together with some force. So I think all three are going to be just fine. We still have one more cross piece to add in, and that is going to be up at the front here. But in order to figure out our position and alignment of that piece, we need to make all of our slats that are going to sit on top of these cross stretchers here. So our slats are going to be 3/8 of an inch thick, which is the exact distance that we have from the top here down to this slat. That way when we have all of our slats together and that front piece mounted, we can figure out where everything needs to sit and to line up nicely with the front of the sled here. So we now have our front support piece and our 4 deck pieces, whatever you want to call them, or whatever they would be called on a sled. And so we needed to make our slats in order to help lay out this front piece here. Because right now we have no way of referencing where this piece goes. We have no square reference point on the front of these runners in order to line anything up with. So we need to create some kind of square structure if we're going to cut a nice square mortise. So just by putting everything together here and keeping our slat pieces in this part as much as possible, we can throw some clamps on here to help keep everything nice and flat and together. So to lay this out, all I'm going to do is push all my slats together, lay my square on this front piece, and then from the underside I can mark right underneath where my square is lining up. And that'll give me my horizontal line on the front of the runner here. I can then go in with the back side of my square where it's a little bit thicker and use that to create a nice 90-degree line for our marking and measuring point. So overall, this is a very convoluted way of laying these out. Probably the easier way to go through laying out all these cross pieces would just be to get them where you want them, clamp everything in place nice and solidly, and then just drill some holes for some dowels. Then when you want to do your glue up, you just pound in those dowel holes and everything is a heck of a lot easier than what we're trying to do here. The instructions that come with the plans are really interesting because they tell you to use a router on all of these mortises, even these front ones, and then you can create this U-shaped jig in order to line things up. I have no idea how to even start with that. I have absolutely no idea how you would accurately or squarely line anything up there. I'm sure that if I actually read through the full instructions, which I don't feel like doing, I'm sure it would tell me. But again, this is one of those things that I find it more fun to kind of learn and figure it out for myself. And if I end up screwing it up and have to redo it, then I will probably read those instructions and see how they recommend doing it, because it probably is the right way to do it. This is just the way that makes sense to me. So there we go. We now actually have a mostly functional sled. I think the runners would still pop off if you hit it hard enough. But other than actually going through and gluing everything together, we now have the actual structure of the sled together. So the next part that we're going to work on is the kind of the top carriage area. Because my nephew is still fairly small and it doesn't really always have the ability to hold himself upright, we want to make sure that he's not just going to fall off this thing. This is meant for an infant or a baby or a very, very young kid. So we don't want them falling off the sled. And not only is it going to be functional to help keep the kid on the sled, it's also going to make it look pretty cool. But anyways, guys, that is going to do it for this video. As always, I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.